I like it with, I want to.
Alex,
Alex is schmoozing.
hey Alex, stop snoozing.
Sure. Well, okay.
I'm going to keep you here all night.
Oh,
You ain't keeping me here all night.
Rich doesn't want
Walk
to
out.
I'll do it. We can.
I will.
Are you ready? This meeting is being held in accordance with public laws of 1975, Chapter 231, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by notice sent to the Star Ledger, local source, posted in the main lobby of the municipal building, and on the Township website. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for servicemen here and abroad. Thank you. Roll call.
I was going to.
Mayor DuBois,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Capides,
Here.
Committeeman Huber,
Here.
Committeeman Kaiser,
Present.
Committeeman Weber.
All right. Well, we have a short agenda tonight, but a very important one. We are going to have a presentation on medical marijuana facilities. So, if you guys are ready, you want to do?
Microphone.
Come to my, you know what? I guess you should present to the crowd. Yeah, it's tough. That's a good question. We need a circular stage, like Gaga or somebody.
This is it.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. It's fun to get behind the mic, I know.
After they present, if you want.
Well, good evening, and thank you guys for coming, and thank you all for having us.
Thank you for coming.
My name is Josh Genderson. I founded Holistic Industries about 12 years ago. Prior to starting this company, I ran a 70-year-old family business for many years. It was a wine and spirits company. Can you guys hear me? Okay. You know the shtick. So it was a wine and spirits company that my great-grandfather founded with my grandfather, who's 100, and we celebrated his 100th birthday 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
He was on the Today Show on the Smucker's Jar last week. And then my dad and uncle turned into a flagship retail store on Capitol Hill in D.C., selling fine wines to the Senate and Congress and things like that. And I came and took over the business and turned it into a fairly big importing and distribution company. And it was great fun, and it was amazing, and I learned marketing and distribution and supply chain and all these things, and I learned them under the guise of strict regulation and compliance. And after growing the company about 5x, I hired a lot of really smart people and started to get a little antsy, and I was looking for the next thing to do, and that's when I decided, so DC, unbeknownst to most people, was the first, I'll call it a state for pride purposes, but the first state on the East Coast to enact a medical cannabis ordinance. And basically, D.C. is subject to something called home rule. So, in effect, Congress has oversight over D.C.'s budget. So any bill D.C. puts through, Congress has to approve. So for many years, when Congress was red, there was a blanket no on approving medical cannabis in the district. And right about the time that I started thinking about, doing something else or starting a side project, Congress flipped to blue, and I knew the mayor at the time, and I worked with him and his chief of staff, and we redrafted the bill. We got it passed through the council and signed by the mayor and sent to Congress and approved by Congress. So DC gave out 7 licenses for growing and processing of medical cannabis. And 6 licenses for the medical dispensing of cannabis. And through a lot of hard work, I was able to win 2 of the 7 licenses for growing and processing and 1 of the 6 for dispensing. So, I dove in head first and started traveling the country and, wanting to be the best at whatever I was going to do. And really the luckiest thing that happened to me was I met a woman, and sorry for some of the people having to hear the same story again, but it's impactful, and I met a woman. She had a son with what's called incurable epilepsy, And essentially, incurable is classified as such after you've gone through 3 clinical trials and they can find no relief. So this mother was part of a group of 50 parents that all had children with the same condition. And this was right around the time when Sanjay Gupta and a lot of publications around the country started talking about CBD, cannabis CBD medicine, and its effect on seizures. And so these mostly moms, they were doctors, lawyers, federal government employees. They would fly to California or Colorado and smuggle a non-psychoactive medicine back to DC to treat their kids, and risking their careers and their reputations. And so after getting to know her and her son Jackson, I hired a PhD chemist, a brilliant guy. He's now our chief science officer. And we started making a medicine that's non-psychoactive. It's a CBD-rich medicine with some other cannabinoids. And we gave it away to all 50 parents. We subsidized it. And we ran a trial, and we had a 97% success rate. And success is categorized as a 70% or more reduction in seizures. And most of these children, their seizures were completely eliminated. So you had these kids that were just, they were essentially invalids. They were having 60, 70, 80 seizures a day. And on top of that, they were on these cocktails that their doctors were giving them that, were heavy sedatives, and they had no quality of life. So, we watched giving them this organic, non-psychoactive medicine that you drop under your tongue. We watched most of their seizures dissipate and their quality of life come back. And I was not a parent at the time. I am now. But I learned very quickly that a parent whose child you've saved really becomes your biggest advocate. And the reason for telling that story is because, unbeknownst to most people, this group of parents, along with some policy organizations and advocates, are really the linchpin for this East Coast cannabis boom or movement. They marched up and down the coast, picketing the state houses, demanding medicine. And, I sort of followed them. And based on merit and based on, the company I'd put together, we kept winning. So we won one of 3 vertical licenses in Maryland. We built a 75,000 square foot production facility and grow facility and a retail store. We won one of 4 vertical licenses in Pennsylvania. We built a 120,000 square foot facility in the western part of the state outside of Pittsburgh. We built the first store in Philadelphia. We built a store in Bucks County, one in Montgomery County. Currently building 3 stores in the Pittsburgh area. Then we went into Massachusetts, also won a vertical. Built a big production facility in western Massachusetts. Built a store in Somerville, right outside of Boston, on Union Square. And then 2 stores in western Mass, one in East Hampton and one in Springfield. So it's only fitting. And along the way, I think I used a lot of the family business core values that I learned throughout the years being in a family business, and was really community focused. Right? I knew that we were going into these states. In every state, we would partner with local civic-minded members of the community, much like we're doing in New Jersey, some who are here today. And I started to realize that compared to our competitors, who are mostly bankers that saw a widget in which they could get in on the ground floor, and they were spending, $80, $90 million to get into the state, we would win it on merit. And we were also doing, we would see new conditions and we would learn about them. We now have 30 scientists working under our chief science officer, and we started making medicines for cancer patients, for muscle spasticity, which is, like Parkinson's or MS, pain, chronic pain, sleep. We started to really, really just see the effects of what we were doing, and we're treating thousands of people and changing their lives, and it was incredibly rewarding. Then we went into California, in LA and San Francisco, and we went into Michigan, and So here we are today. There's an RFP, an application process in New Jersey, and the applications are due Friday. It was only recently announced, so we didn't have a lot of time to find a spot and to have a community meeting. For us, it's incredibly important to be welcome. So, you know, that's sort of high level why we're here. You know, there's a bit of personal experience and relationship around cannabis. One of my partners, when I started the company, was my uncle. He was diagnosed with a glioblastoma, and, you know, so which is a rare form of brain cancer, and essentially given 3-4 months to live, and they did radiation, they did surgery, and our scientists had learned about something called RSO. It's a Rick Simpson oil. It's an incredibly potent form of cannabis extract that we make in pill form, in tablet form. It was only available in like this weird sticky substance, and you had to like put it in a syringe and put a rice-sized piece in your finger and eat it. And so we really professionalized the product, and we started treating my uncle with it. And he passed away about 3 weeks ago, but he had an amazing 4 years with a quality of life, saw 2 daughters get married. It was just another, you know, amazing reason to be in the industry. And so we're now the largest private cannabis company in the country. We have, again, gone above and beyond in every aspect of professionalizing. One of the gentlemen here that I'm going to have come up and say a few things is our national head of security, and that's Vince Canales. And Vince is the president of the Fraternal Order of Police in Maryland and an Air Force veteran. And the first time I met Vince, you know, I knew that we wanted, you know, to have our security professionals be incredibly in tune with the community, and my goal was to find retired police. And so I met with Vince, and I think he looked at me like I had 5 heads, and, you know, was not, nobody in the FOP was supporting what we were doing. And after spending some time with Vince, and Vince getting to meet some of these parents whose children we had helped, and some of these cancer patients, I think Vince was convinced, and has really helped us in every community that we operate in. We have a close connection with the police department. They have an open feed into our cameras. They know our security. It's mostly retired police from the community. So, you know, one of many aspects of you know, of how we're different. I'll let Vince say a few words, and then maybe we'll have Justin talk and answer some questions.
Thank you for your information, and sorry for the loss of your uncle.
Thank you all for this opportunity to speak for the council, and as well as for many of you, a few of whom I'm seeing again for the second time. Vince Canales, just a little bit about me. I did 21 years as a law enforcement officer in Maryland. Actually served on the Prince George's County Police Department, the 27th, 28th, depending on the day of the week, largest agency in the country. Worked 8 years in homicide before I actually was elected union president as a local president, and then upon my retirement ran for state president and became state president. Basically, and Josh said it, 6 heads is probably not even the number of heads I thought he had at the time. I thought it was a joke when I got invited to this meeting. I got to hear the story from some of the parents regarding some of the successes that we've done with regards to children, and some of the issues with regards to epilepsy and stuff, and thought, let me take a look into this a little bit more and see, you know, what I can find out about the industry. One of the things that I found out, and you'll actually get to know a little bit more with regards to most of the regs throughout the country regarding security, is the fact that the majority of the security reg revolves around infrastructure, cameras, access control, things of that nature. Does very little to discuss about physical, actually having somebody physically within a facility to help monitor or track, or to help with any issues that may be going on. The one thing that Holistic took the approach of from minute one was they wanted to, you know, hey, the reg says this, we're going to exceed the reg, and we're going to make sure that not only do we provide the highest standard with regards to infrastructure and cameras and things of that nature, but we're also going to put people physically in the building to ensure not only the security of the employees, but also the security of those individuals who may be coming, and the community. So there's a face that you can put to it. There's an individual you can speak with. There's a problem or an issue that arises. we can deal with it in real time as opposed to 10 emails later and someone's upset that something didn't get addressed quickly enough. So Holistic is really kind of taking this approach across the board in everything they do, but with regards to security, they kind of went the next step with regards to that. As a result, with our relationship, I've been able to basically reach out and we make it a point wherever we wind up going into that we try to be good partners. I mean, the reality of the matter is that we want to work with you. We're not working against you. We're not trying to do anything that's going to harm your neighborhoods or your quality of life. You'll find that, and I wish we had some pictures of the facilities, but the Liberty facilities for where the product is actually sold from, the highest quality as far as it's concerned with regards to the aesthetics of it, the way it looks, it fits the community. It's not something that's just kind of thrown together and an eyesore as far as that's concerned. It's also not meant to be a place for congregating and individuals to be able, I know some of the myth has been that, now you've got individuals that are hanging out in the street. No. A lot of we move people along. Individuals are not allowed to basically hang around. You're not even allowed to use your product on facility property. So as far as it's concerned, you have to take it home and do it that way. The regs for New Jersey are very clear, and they set the standards as far as that's concerned. What I can tell you is our compliance officer, who's not here today, she's a stickler on that, so she will know these regs like the back of her hand. She'll make sure that we are adherent to everything that goes on with regards to this. And like I said, we attempt to be partners, so it would be our objective not only to work with the council, but to also work with the police department as well, public safety in general, be it the fire department, whomever. It's not meant to be a secret. We're as transparent as we can be. Come in, see the facility. We want you to tour it. We want you to know that you can stop in at any point in time, and that we're your neighbors. We're not necessarily just somebody that's coming into town trying to take your dollars and then run down the street. So I can keep going on security and everything else, but you have any questions?
I have one question,
Yeah.
Security. I know this isn't recreational, so this is like might be a different topic for you guys, but I've heard that in regards to like recreational facilities out where they are legal, that they often have to carry a lot of cash on hand because federal regulations, they don't like put everything in the bank because federal laws are still not supportive of marijuana. Is that the same issue or is it different?
We have banking in every state.
Okay. Okay.
Including New Jersey.
Okay.
So, it's a misnomer that you can't be a bank and represent cannabis.
Okay.
It's just, there's an extra level of compliance.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I've heard that before, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. When you say medical marijuana, in other words, I go to a doctor, whatever it is, and doctor will give me a prescription for what you're going to sell?
Yeah, so I was explaining earlier today, it's a little different than that. So because a doctor, is not going to be able to prescribe a particular medicine, cannabis medicine, right? They've never been trained. That you're going to go to them and you're going to say, your back hurts or whatever it is. Yeah, you have glaucoma, and they can have the ability to recommend that you become a patient, a cannabis patient.
You get a card,
right? So you get a card from the Department of Health. The doctor registers you and your condition. There's qualifying conditions in New Jersey, and if you have one of them, DOH will approve it, and you'll get a card. And then you'll come into the store. Once you get past security, you'll be greeted by a concierge who will basically, if it's your first time, you'll fill out a questionnaire. We have tons of pharmacists and pharmacologists on staff that have all gone through an extensive, what's called ASA, Americans for Safe Access training. So they have been trained to identify what ailments go with which cannabis therapy. We make about 52 products. And so again, sort of like a doctor-patient relationship, they would say, okay, start with this cream or this pill or this drop or, whatever it is. And that's sort of how.
In other words, if I come in there, it's one-on-one, and then just say, Chris is, Chris comes in right after. He gets someone else one-on-one.
Yeah.
It's all one-on-one. It's not like 4 people walk in at a time and.
Right. It's one-on-one. So there could be 4 people in there.
Yes.
There can only be, for every person in the store, there has to be what we call a wellness guide with them. There's a waiting area. We don't sort of block it off. It feels like a jail sometimes when you walk into some of these and you're in these little waiting rooms. We have waiting lounges, and so if if there are more patients than there are wellness guys, you'll wait until one frees up.
We
Now-
also have private consultation areas. If you wanted, some people are comfortable speaking in a more public environment. You have others who want to go and discuss their issues in private, and their private consultation areas where they can sit and talk. And, that's meant to continue each month. It's not as if you come in and you can just buy a year's supply. You actually are limited on what you can purchase, and then when you come back, there may be an assessment as far as, hey, this didn't work for us as far as it was concerned, and some recommendations made on some other types of products that may be more beneficial for you.
And it sounds like you were describing CBD oils before too. Now, I know you can get some of those like anywhere these days. Would you guys also have those? And you wouldn't necessarily need a card for those, I would assume.
No, so it's different. So there is this misnomer. So you're starting to see CBD.
Yeah, like on Groupon.
Yeah,
Like it's
right.
weird.
Or at Walgreens or wherever. So that's hemp-derived CBD, which is completely different. It has
Okay.
completely different makeup. We wouldn't even be allowed to sell that
Okay.
in our dispensary. Cannabis-derived CBD that I was talking about,
Okay.
combined with other profiles in the cannabis plant,
Okay.
really what make effective medicine.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarification.
Josh, can you also speak, I know we talked before that the card that you get from the doctor has an expiration date on it, doesn't mean you got it forever.
Right, yeah, Justin may know, it's usually either a 6-month or a 12-month.
Yeah, it's a 12-month card, and you have to get recertified once a year with your physician to make sure that you still qualify as a patient.
So kind of to your point, Rich, it's controlled in that respect also.
Do you accept, and I'm just asking, I'm stupid about this.
No, it's, people don't know.
Like a hospitalization or a drug plan from the hospitalization, like some plans, you can get cards shipped there, I'm just saying. But do you accept anything like Blue Cross Blue Shield?
No.
Yeah,
no,
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's no insurance in
Yeah,
the
no insurance
space.
that covers it.
Okay.
I was explaining earlier, we subsidize
That's pretty
product depending on your income status. That's a personal a business.
Yeah, no, I'm
But their insurance companies won't touch it.
and one other thing is, how do you do without getting robbed?
Yeah,
I mean, if you're a cash business,
yeah, well.
Well, they're not, they
so
said.
we
They
a
don't
bank-
have to be.
We have a bank in New Jersey.
you have a bank in New Jersey, but you accept credit cards?
No,
No, see?
If I can answer that. just-
yeah,
I mean,
Again, this is the difference between holistic and a number of other institutions that basically come along. You not only have a guard that's present there, you have a guard who ultimately, in the way that the design of the facility is set up, while it is extremely friendly once you get in, there is an area that you do wind up coming into first degree flag guard. That individual ensures that basically you are supposed to have access into the facility, and at that point, you're allowed access into the facility. Now, understand, anyone who's coming into the facility and now allowed into that next area, worst case scenario, if you tried to rob the location, to be honest with you, I know exactly who you are. You provide me with your card, we confirmed who you were, and you go on America's Most Dumbest Criminals.
well, and also to speak to it, so we have the banks required daily, either Brinks or whichever company they
Okay.
work with, so they pick up cash daily. There's not cash sitting overnight. We operate in DC, Philadelphia, Boston,
Rough
big
neighborhood,
cities, and we've never had one incident. The only, knock on wood, actually, the only encounters with police are because of the security so high end. We've ended up solving 3 or 4, violations from our cameras. So they'll call and say, "Hey, can we take a look at your cameras? There was a murder, there was a burglary," and they'll come and look at our cameras and see what happened across the street.
so I can't get into your second area. If I come in and just show you my license, but I have to get a card to get into your second area.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I'm sorry, but take up too much.
That's a good question.
well, it's a great question.
Thank you.
How is holistic different from Breakwater?
So I don't know breakwater, but I think, I started to explain that a lot of my competitors are, I would say 95% of them are, come from the banking or Wall Street world and saw a widget, right, and started buying into these states, $80, $90 million to buy a license in a state. We've won on merit, and And then once we're in, again, it's a it's a big family business. Now we have hundreds of employees around the country, but, communication with our employees, it truly, has become and has been noted as the best place to work in the space. We provide, amazing compensation, benefits, tuition reimbursement. I think we go a step above and beyond any competitors I've come across.
Before we continue, I forgot to kind of lay out the parameters. We're going to do public comment after the presentation, but if any of you guys have questions at the time, you can ask.
On this end?
So I know you had a question, I think you might have had one too.
A couple, if I could say. One, if you could just lay out for us the process going forward. Not that you're one company interested in opening up a location in Springfield, but doesn't mean that you're the only one. And if you could lay out your licensure process going forward and the next steps. And then also just on the front, hours of operation, what time in the morning?
And it
what
doesn't
time
mean
at night?
they necessarily win the license either,
Exactly.
so.
We are generally open from 11 to 6 or 11 to 7, 7
And-
days a week.
And your employees? I just know Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
They told me they're open from 11 to 8, but then when I walked in, they're like 24 hours going all day. So how long do you guys
Our
work?
employees have an hour before
Hour before?
with security.
You said six days a week?
We're
7 days.
No.
I mean, we're treating sick people, and the way we look at it, it's not, the right thing to do to not.
No?
In terms of the application process.
Yeah, sure. Applications are due August 22nd.
And that's to the state, if you would just explain.
Yeah.
Sure. So the state issued a request for applications about a month ago. The way that it works is the state is giving out.
Try to talk near the mic, just because it's on TV, just so they can hear you.
State is giving out 15 standalone dispensary licenses, 5 standalone cultivation licenses, and 4 verticals. So that would be for cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensary all within one.
And here you're going for,
Here we are applying for one of the verticals. Holistic is vertically integrated in every state that we operate. The only thing that would be located in Springfield would be the dispensary. We have a grow and processing facility that we've secured in Franklin, New Jersey.
okay.
So the way the process works is, there will probably be about 250 to 300 applicants for these limited licenses. The applications are due August 22nd, and the state says that they will announce winners within 60 days. If I was a betting man, I would bet that they would go over. That's generally how it goes. So I would assume that before the end of the year, they'll announce the winner.
So there's no guarantee that you get a license, period?
Absolutely not. No
Okay.
guarantee.
And if you were to be awarded a license, how many employees do you suspect? Or anticipate?
Throughout, so with respect to Springfield, I'd
With
say
respect to Springfield.
20, 25
25.
at the store, and then, within,
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
But historically, we are hiring 90% of our employees local.
And-
That's, again, part of being part of the community. We make a major push to hire local, maybe 1 or 2 specialized managers that we bring in to help open the
And-
store.
And how many patients on average do you serve in any of your other stores?
Per day.
Or, yeah, per day?
It totally depends on the, so in medical state, vibrant medical program, you expect to have max 2% of the population receive cards.
I'm sorry, can you just move closer to the microphone so we can?
In a vibrant medical program, you expect to see 2% of the state's population get cards. So depending on the state and the size and how many stores there are, we see from anywhere between 100 to 400 patients a day.
Would you have somebody from New York, I'm sorry, somebody from New York come in and buy from you there?
I don't think they have reciprocity in New Jersey.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, some states you can be a patient in another state, and the state will pass what's called reciprocity, and it's sort of a quid pro, but I don't believe New Jersey has reciprocity.
I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, say you get this license. Is it transferable?
I don't believe so.
Stays with you, stays with your entity, and that's that at that point.
Yeah.
Good.
Licenses themselves are not transferable.
All right,
Now,
so,
people play like shell games, and,
Right.
but and that's, by the way, yes, ma'am, the difference between us and a lot of other companies. It's another difference. We're operators, you know, we're true operators, execution-oriented operators. There are a lot of aggregators, right, just trying to build, you know, pieces on the
Quick
map
money.
and sell them to, well, I think build a, you know, like Monopoly, right? Like, get as many on the map and then sell them. And that's,
Right.
we're trying to, you know, operate and treat people.
second question. In terms of store frontage, signage, you don't have anything with you. Do you have a website or something we can go to that we can,
Absolutely. Yeah.
where would we go to so
You
we
could-
can see it?
libertycannabis.com.
LibertyCannabis.com, right?
Yep. So our parent company is Holistic Industries. Our DBA for our dispensaries are called Liberty.
How do you, sorry, guys.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, they're beautiful stores. So signage, depending on the state, changes. We don't use the word cannabis or pot or you know, dispensary. They say Liberty. They all have a very similar aesthetic. Inside, they're almost like an Apple store. On the outside, they're like I don't know the color, but a hue of green. You know, so they all sort of fit the same footprint. They blend in with wherever we are. I mean,
Something you have to look for if you're looking for it.
absolute. You'd have to look for it for sure. Yeah,
Right.
there's no, you know, picture of a guy
Drive
with
by,
a bong.
big
right?
fire.
Flashing weeds.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know Swing, there's certain regulations on signs.
Yeah. So, and advertising. I mean, there's no advertising really, right? You can't take a radio ad out or buy a Google ad, I mean, that's all prohibited.
And that's a good, I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah. So
Is there an advertising aspect to this, or is
Yeah.
this just travel by word of mouth?
grassroots. So one of the reasons
No
we're-
pun intended.
One of the every time there's so many puns. One of the things that we take seriously and is education and outreach, and I think, you know, these community meetings are a good example of the fact that people just don't know, right? And there's a lot of misnomers. We had a good conversation in the earlier meeting about, you know, some gentleman asked, you know, his doctor won't prescribe it. And what I was explaining is just a lack of understanding, right? There's a lack of education and outreach. And so we have an outreach team. Our head of outreach is actually a rabbi who became a cannabis advocate. He's, you know, incredibly impassioned.
So it's kosher.
It's kosher.
No, it's not. Just kidding.
So
It might be, I don't know.
it could be. It could be. So we'll hold education and outreach seminars at medical, you know, for large medical facilities, hospital facilities, senior care facilities, you know, community meetings, town meetings, any place that we're invited, and we'll ask. I mean, we are very active on the outreach and education piece.
Is this your first venture in Jersey?
Yeah,
Springfield, okay.
yeah, we don't have anything in New Jersey.
So just to bring it back, and I don't want, I know we're focusing a lot of questions on you, but this is still a more general topic, just on the industry at large. So if you could just clarify, because I think I missed it, just the 200, 300, are you vying against 200 and 300 other applicants for just the vertical, or is that how many anticipated for the whole program?
No, I think for the vertical.
Just for the vertical?
I think they'll be closer to 600 for.
Really?
Yeah, everybody sees, you know, dollar signs, which I'm happy to tell you is another misnomer. It's incredibly expensive to get these things off the ground. A cultivation facility could cost, $17 to $20 million. You know, again, when you imagine a cannabis grow, you know, you might have a certain image in your mind, but our facilities look like Merck or a Pfizer pharmaceutical facility, right? There's, you know, it's negative pressure rooms, and people are in, you know, full Tyvek suits, and then we have labs. We have 30 scientists that use all sorts of extraction, and, you know, there are machines that look like, you know, we're building a nuclear bomb or something. I mean, it's so far outside of the expectations of most people, and you can't get a bank loan. And so there's no lending, there's no, and so, to operate at the level that we operate, to make the medicine that we make, is a lot of work. It's very capital intensive, and, it's not what, the normal person thinks.
And currently, there's how many? There's currently 6 dispensaries throughout the state, am I?
Yeah, sure. So there are 6 that are currently open and operating. The state awarded 6 more this time last year. Those 6 are not operational yet. So there are 12 existing licensees in the state, 6 of which are operational.
And we plan to open it up to how many statewide? 4?
So there's 12 now. There'll be another 4 vertical, another 15.
5 and 15, right?
Correct.
Do you know how many are within our earshot around here? Do you know how many?
There's one in Union.
So there's one, they call it a satellite location. The Garden State Dispensary was located in Woodbridge. Each of the existing ATCs, they're called Alternative Treatment Centers, is the nomenclature in New Jersey. Each of those existing licensees is allowed to open up a quote-unquote satellite location, and Garden State Dispensary just opened up, I think, within the past couple of weeks, satellite location in Union.
So a facility like yours is entitled to one satellite location or multiple satellite locations?
It's still up for discussion, but as of now, it would be at least 1, but probably not. But maybe up to 3, but for sure.
So Springfield would be home base.
Springfield would be home base, absolutely.
Is there a difference between home base and satellite in terms of volume, in terms of?
No, it would just be up to wherever you wanted to open up shop.
Just a sister store?
Yeah, exactly, just a sister store, yep. And of course, if we applied in Springfield, then it would be our baby if that was, the first one in the state, for sure.
If you pass it, I'm saying if you pass it and you get the license, I would want you to come back or meet and make the parents feel at ease with it, because parents are going to come after us. Parents could come after us with that.
Possibly.
I'd like to have a couple of meetings with parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And and in that event, we'd bring out the entire team, make the full presentation to the community. While Holistic is a big corporation on the national level, we have very strong New Jersey roots. I myself am from New Jersey, born and raised in Essex Fells. I live in Hoboken with my wife now. She's from Millburn. My brother and sister-in-law actually live in Springfield.
Oh, nice.
He's a cardiologist at Overlook. She's the chief nurse at Overlook, and they are on our medical advisory board. So we do have connections within our license application to the city of Springfield, Township.
I should also say, the majority of our patients are parents,
Because I know some parents have stopped me and talked to me about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I said, I'm just learning about it.
yeah.
I think you have to realize that the small steps right now are huge steps for everybody, and this is something that's really, a lot has been pushed upon everybody within the last year, let's say, or giant leaps
No, I know.
have been done.
No, you went from one administration that really was not so in favor to one that is.
So, smaller steps work well for us at this point with you explaining everything and
Yeah,
being
right.
as transparent as possible with it all. It helps.
And if I can, just to add this, what's happened in a lot of the other markets that we ultimately wind up going into as well is we'll tailor the conversations to whatever the issues that may wind up being at hand. So, for example, some jurisdictions want more conversation about security and the impact that it's going to have on their communities. Well, we'll have myself and we'll bring other individuals in that can sit back and potentially discuss some of their issue concerns. Some had other issues that strictly revolved around how is the medicine made or what the impact of this medicine, and we can have those individuals there to tailor the conversation specifically to to those issues. So we're more than happy to come back. It's not as if, again, I think I said this earlier to everybody, we're not here today, gone tomorrow. Right. We really want to be a good partner and a good steward with the community, and if we can, do what we can to actually just, be actively involved. So.
Are there any regulations in terms of distance from schools or any? Do you have that?
No.
Is it
Yeah,
housing,
there's a statewide regulation that you can't be within 1,000 feet of a school. You can't be within the drug-free school zone.
1,000 feet within the school.
1,000 feet from a school.
But they're residential.
No, there's no, as long as the facility itself is zoned properly for the use, then, obviously, if it's a residential zone, then that would not work.
But it goes beyond the schools, right? It's daycare, it's...
Not New Jersey. Not New Jersey.
Why do you think it's so long to apply in New Jersey? I noticed, because you said they gave you out 5 licenses last year?
Yeah.
And 5 licenses?
So we did apply last year.
Okay.
A little...
Oh, no, I'm curious.
Yeah, no, so the way it's, the way the application process worked last year, the state just sort of dropped it unannounced. We had not intended to apply in New Jersey in the last round. When we do apply, we like to put our best foot forward and really, make sure that we ingrain ourselves in the community and build a strong local presence and local support. And we didn't feel like we had that last time, but then an opportunity sort of fell into our lap, and we said, well, let's give it a shot and apply. And even then, with only 2 weeks to go, we decided, all right, let's do it. And we scored 7th out of 6 that were awarded. So still pretty good, but but of course.
Our first loss, so
exactly.
I'll remind us of that.
Now, timetable-wise, I know that it seems like a lengthy process. Obviously, you don't know who's going to get the licenses, but hypothetically speaking, Company A gets a license, and they're, approved to be in a community. How long does it take to get up and running?
Well, there's a requirement, right?
Yeah, so you have to be up and running within a year. And that's usually the way it goes in most states. Otherwise, they may revoke your license if you're not up and operational within a year. And we've always been able to hit that deadline.
Interesting.
Sort of operationally, so a grow processing facility takes about a year to build out. I mean, there's a lot of, you're recreating a ecosystem inside.
Yeah, because I assume that it's, regardless of the building you found in any community, they're not built for this because you're kind of the first, so there's no footprint for this, so I'm assuming that would take some time.
And then we build, C1, D1 extraction labs, right? If it were federally legal, they would be, completely, FDA and federally compliant. And then once you're open, it takes about 6 months to harvest a crop, and then maybe another month to process it and make the medicine. So you're looking at
So you're saying
7 months.
if you got it, just say, or September 1st, you got it, you wouldn't be really open for business in Springfield, for a year and a half from that. That's what you just said. Right?
No, I said, so the cultivation.
Cultivation.
The state gives you a year, right? You have to be open within a year. Cultivation takes about a year. Springfield could be open within 4 to 5 months. The problem being, we make our own medicine. We curate products from other providers as well, and we sell to other providers. But we're not going to open a store without our own medicine. We're so passionate about how special it is that we probably wouldn't open a store until we had a product for the store.
And I wanted to go back to that too, because I'm writing down questions, and the sooner I'm writing down the questions, the sooner you're answering them. But as far as product, I mean, I know you mentioned a cream and a spray, but what other types of products would you be?
We make 52 products. So we make tablets, we make pills, capsules, we make creams and balms, we make tinctures, comes in a liquid dropper bottle.
Right.
We make the ingestible. We make vaporizable oils. We make I think that sort of, and then within those things there's a wide spectrum. The other thing about Liberty is that so it's a very approachable brand for people that don't know about cannabis medicine. So it's broken out throughout the spectrum, right? And so, from clarity to all the way through the spectrum to the one you would take at night. And so we try to make it incredibly simple for people that are learning.
Okay.
Alex?
I just had a follow-up too. So, and again, forgive me because I sometimes feel silly asking these questions, but
No.
you're checking in, the ID's checked, you get a concierge, you have a waiting room, but when you actually enter the facility with that one-on-one, what are they walking into? Is this like a pharmacy where or is this like a jewelry store where there's like cases?
More like a jewelry store, right?
Okay.
So you walk in, and there's a vestibule.
Right.
And there's generally a retired police officer from the community sitting there, checking your card.
Right.
Entering your name in, making sure, A, that you're a valid patient, and B, that you have an allocation left.
Okay.
Then you're buzzed in. You walk in, it's this beautiful store. There's a waiting area, not walled off, but a waiting area. It's a concierge desk, and then, it's more like a jewelry store. It's got, separate, kiosks or display cases. And we call them wellness guides. There's a negative connotation, like in California, they're called bud tenders. But ours are pharmacists or pharmacologists or, people that have been trained and gone through this ASA course. So then you would go and you would, I'd greet you and I'd be your wellness guide for that time. Unless you wanted a private consultation, then you'd go into the consultation rooms and it could be more private and we could talk about it. But if it's your 20th time in the store, you'd come and I would show you, what we had and explain, you'd tell me your ailment or whatever it is. And then basically you'd be checked out on an iPad. And then your order would go to the back to a fulfillment center, much like a pharmacy.
Okay.
You would pay, and then by the time you paid, someone would come out and say,
Here's your bag with it.
If I can, as far as the facility itself, I can actually show you in real time. Unfortunately, it's an app for all of our cameras in our facilities, which I can show you, so you can actually see it at the conclusion. I can show you.
And I have some materials actually in the car that I can hand out at the, and I'll go grab them.
Can you go back one more time? You're cracking me up.
Don't ask us legal questions.
You're cracking me up with the bud tender. The bud tender thing has just made my night. 3 types of license, you said. Vertical, which is, I just gotta write that down.
Yeah, no problem. A vertical license consists of growing, processing, and dispensing. So, and distribution, right? So you can distribute your products to the retailers. A dispensary license is just that. It's only a medical retail shop.
And then we have dispensary, okay, go ahead.
And then an individual grow is, I believe, Megan, you can correct me, in New Jersey, a grow is grow and processing, right?
Grow and process.
Yeah.
You're going for
A
vertical?
Yeah, we only operate as a vertical company, so.
Would you be growing in Springfield?
No.
No, he said Franklin.
Franklin, that's right.
If I just say, I'm sorry, Al.
No. Go.
I'm sorry, I was right.
Yeah,
I
it's
would've
okay.
cut him off.
If I, say I went to the doctor, I had bad headaches, they gave me that. And I come into you and say, well, my arm's bothering me now. You could give me something else than what originally was?
So there are qualifying conditions in New Jersey. I don't know if you know off the top of your head. I know epilepsy is one of them. I know cancer is one of them. I know HIV is one of them. I'm not sure PTSD, I think, was recently added. So if you have one of those qualifying conditions, your doctor can recommend.
Is New Jersey more strict with that than other states?
Yeah,
I think
a
they are.
little
I've heard
bit.
that, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Some states tend to open up as they realize how many things can be treated. Justin, do you know the qualifying conditions in New Jersey?
There's a number of them. There's Crohn's and colitis, HIV, AIDS, migraines, anxiety, MS.
If I go for a migraine, I
Yeah.
have a migraine headache, and I come into you and you give me whatever it is you give me. Now, all of a sudden, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, I come back in. My arm's sore, I got it.
Right.
Arm's sore. You could prescribe something else?
If chronic pain were one of the ailments that you were allowed to treat, then yes.
Were you allowed to treat, or, see, the thing is, if I come in for headaches originally, if I'm understanding you correctly, I could say to you, well, my arm's sore, my back's sore today.
Right.
Can you give me something else? And you could, or no?
If chronic pain were allowed, and you
Okay.
said, so in other words, you only could, like, let's say you came in and you had you know, I don't know if headaches is a good one, because I
My
don't.
back, my back's bad.
But, yeah.
All right, so the way that works, so you have to get a consultation with the doctor in order to get a recommendation to become a patient.
Yes, I got
You
that.
get recommended based, let's say you had chronic illness, right? For that period of time, you have the card. If you had some other ailment, you could come in, you still have the card, you have access to the dispensary. And if you had some other ailment that you said, you know what, I think I'm having a problem with, whatever it might be, nausea, can't sleep, things like that, then yes, we could recommend things
You
like
could help
that. But if whatever the qualifying condition was, because you have to re-up it every year.
Yes.
So if it turned out that after a year, the qualifying condition no longer existed, you would no longer be qualified to be a patient.
But Justin, there's a limit though on what you can get per month or something? So if Rich kept going in every day with, you know, my left arm, my right arm, my left knee, my right knee, where does it end?
Yeah, no, there's a
I'm just keeping an eye on you.
I'm assuming it's just like when you go to CVS, I can only refill a prescription once, you know what I'm saying, of regular stuff.
That's what I was
Other,
getting
not
at.
regular, other pharmacies.
And if I may, just with regards to that, an individual that habitually keeps coming back and forth, I mean, it's an issue with regards to diversion, whether or not someone's potentially overutilizing their product and maybe abusing the
Or selling it.
Right.
Not only does the state mandate that the company in and of itself has a requirement to ensure that it's keeping tabs on this and that the quantities are known and what's going out. We make it a point that we're trying to watch and keep an eye out to ensure that that's not occurring. So if an individual is identified as being kind of the habitual every other day, it seems like they're coming in and all of a sudden they're out of product, or the product got stolen or something of that nature, there are enforcement mechanisms built in within the regs and everything else that allows the Department of Health or the store to make notifications to with regards to that kind of issue. So.
I know Alex had a question.
Yeah. Oh, let me get one.
Now, what if it's my other knee?
You said that you're vertical, so you're trying to get your cultivation in Franklin. Has Franklin signed off on it? So you're just kind of waiting for our town too. So say we said no, right? Then what happens to the process? Does Franklin lose out potentially, or say
Or you go somewhere else.
we approved it, or
There are many towns that
want it? Gotcha.
We have retail identified, but we'd love to be in Springfield. But did say no, we would
Go to somewhere else,
And-
and vice versa if Franklin said no.
And can I just ask you a question? I think it's pretty obvious what the answer is. If you shouldn't be successful, that doesn't mean that the next guy that was successful getting the license couldn't come and approach us to be in Springfield.
Well, they would have to approach you before the application.
Before the
Or for their satellite location.
and the
Well, if we voted yes for you, and Chris's company came in, and you didn't get the license, you didn't get approved by it, but Chris's company did, they could come and they could come in front of us then, couldn't they? No?
If
Four.
Chris's company, I'll have a letter from you.
No, you got approved in Springfield. You're all approved, Franklin's okay, you're all done.
You have to be approved at a site.
Before you put the application, okay.
But if you have playing off of what you said though, but if you're successful and you're opened in another town, you could come to us and open up a satellite spot for them.
Frankly, the satellite program is new, so Justin can speak.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
there's only one existing licensee that's done it so far. The process is not really, hasn't been completely built out. It's still sort of ad hoc in the way that it's being approached. So there's no real certainty around satellite locations at this time. They're still trying to figure it out.
Good.
Why have you identified Springfield as your choice?
Yeah, sure.
So the second that, when I came to.
Step up to the mic, please.
I live in DC. We have a very robust set of local partners, many of who are here today. So I came to look at some sites and some towns and cities that they had identified as being, just welcoming and vibrant, and so we came and we looked at sites and drove all around central New Jersey, and I just fell in love with both the city of Springfield and the site, and it was my first choice.
But-
No, I have two, so I'll close it up if we want.
Add to that, as I said, I'm very familiar with Springfield. My father-in-law lives just down Route 22 in Mountainside. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law live in Springfield. I grew up, 15 minutes from here, so very familiar with the area. And, I thought it'd be, it's home.
Suppose,
Yes, for a second.
Sure.
One of the local partners. One of the things that we also thought would be wonderful.
Can you step up to the mic? I'm sorry. I want them to hear it on TV.
The proximity to Overlook,
Oh.
because this is a medical facility. So that was one of the things that our partners were very, very interested in. We spoke with a number of physicians at Overlook, and they agree that Springfield is a great location for their patients.
It's interesting. Thank you.
and you say location. Now, you just say you have a location, and if I'm not mistaken, down Mountain Avenue, right?
In the HC zone, the HC zone, highway commercial.
Is that that's a highway?
Yes, it is.
It is considered highway?
Yes, I checked it.
Oh, I mean, because suppose we didn't want it there, we want you to move it. You could move it in Springfield, am I correct? I'm just asking.
At this time,
No?
probably not. No, I mean,
I
just
think we
because,
have a location
yeah, we
for
have
the
yeah.
license application. if I understand
Part
correctly.
of, part of the application process, so when we submit our application next week, you identify a site. You do you do drawings of that site. You do security overlays of that site. You do delivery routes. You do, Vince will have 20 guys doing overlays for security. You're approved based on that site, and that's what, they're scoring you based on your site.
Where's, no?
I have a couple.
Now.
I have a couple, so I'm going to take one quick. Your scientists, the R&D, probably the brain. Where's that located again?
We have scientists in every market.
Oh, in every
We
market.
have 30 scientists. Our chief science officer spends equal time in each market.
That's awesome. Cool. Competition. So conceivably, you might have one right down the street. How do you guys compete? Are you trying to sell a superior product, or is it pricing?
Or is there just enough customers that
Or is
enough
it-
to go
I
around?
think the state of New Jersey is incredibly underserved. I mean, there are so many people that need medicine.
I mean, if you think
All
about
hear-
it, there's a CVS on every corner, there's a Walgreens on every corner, what's the real difference?
And they're across the street.
And they're across the street from each
Yeah.
other. So if you think about it as medicinal as it is, I don't see the difference, really.
It's like West Side Story, kind of.
Gotcha.
Pizza paste now, so CVS Walgreens.
And then last, I'm surprised we didn't get to this, taxes. What does the town get? So besides property taxes, is there a 3% fee that we can levy?
Yeah, I believe it may be up to 2%.
2%.
Either 2 or 3%. And that's something that's up to the town. It's built into the regulations that the town
That
can
would-
determine if they want to charge a local tax on the.
And that's something we haven't even touched on. That wasn't
Do you have to-
exactly the motivation.
I went to a meeting last year with, on this, when I was the mayor. And there was something where you had to guarantee, I thought it was 5 years, sign a contract with the state for 5 years. Did you have to do that? No?
Was that recreational, maybe? If
I don't-
that ever came
maybe that
to
was
fruition, which it
recreational.
hasn't
Yeah, that was
yet?
recreational. Okay, I was wrong. But,
That seems to be on the back
burner.
burner now, anyway. Yes.
One thing that I'd like our panel to address is the partnership with Rutgers.
Yeah,
Because I do know that, yes, all of your medical partnerships, we do have a lot of questions around the medicinal aspect of this, and we just wanted to assure you that we work locally with several universities, so just.
Yeah, so we're very happy and very privileged to say that we're one of the few groups, I'm not sure if there's any others, that have obtained a letter of support from Rutgers Medical School, that if we win, they'll enter into a research partnership with us specific to research around medical cannabis and developing therapies in the industry.
Another correction, I'm sorry. Oh, in the air.
Real quick,
Hey.
while you mention it, I mean, there's a couple of other partnerships in the state.
Yeah, sure. So we have a partnership with the Seton Hall Law School Center for Social Justice. One of the big things that's In the state legislature right now is an expungement bill. We would be partnering with Seton Hall Law School on sponsoring their expungement clinic and helping them with that. We have the Dean of Pharmacy of the College of, the Dean Emeritus of the College of Pharmacy in Philadelphia is a member of our advisory board. As I mentioned, we have cardiologist and chief nurse of Overlook Hospital, Springfield residents who are on our medical advisory board as well. We've made great strides in really, making strong local partnerships and trying to put our best foot forward in New Jersey.
States that have medical but also recreational. Do you guys just just focus on medical, or in the field if it switches to recreational, would that be something you get into?
Sure, I'll speak to that. So initially we planned to never get into the recreational space. And then we were in Massachusetts, which went recreational through referendum. And so we said, so in Massachusetts, by law, the way it works is a virtual separation, they call it. So you can walk into a store if you're a medical patient, you basically get rung up in a different register, right? And you pay less taxes, access to different products. So we said we're only going to be medical, and nobody came, right? It's impossible to operate in a state that has a recreational program without.
It's a shame.
But at the same time, the store is the same. It's still, it's the one outside of Boston. It's the same store. It's got the same security. It's got the same products for wellness. You still are consulted by a wellness guide.
But does the R&D aspect, or are you still trying to create a superior product?
We're constantly, most of the markets we're in are medical, and we're constantly trying to treat sick people. And in the recreational markets, they're mostly sick people.
Gotcha.
What happens is sometimes it's like you mentioned CVS. You go and buy Tylenol PM to sleep, or Advil if your back's hurting you. I was in the wine and spirits industry, right? You come buy a bottle of scotch to calm down.
Feel better.
Really, in moderation, cannabis has so many wellness benefits, and we've stayed true to that even when a state flips.
Now,
And if I may add just on that, it came up earlier too, in regards to the earlier conversation. Unlike some of the CBD oils and stuff you get off Amazon, some of these other things,
get them everywhere.
There's strict lab testing and everything else of all products that come out of holistic, or actually anybody that's participating within the program. It's required by a third-party vendor to be tested. It has to meet state requirements before it can even be sold, as far as it's concerned. So while, you may have R&D playing in the lab and trying to come up with some new derivatives and ways to go ahead and have this put out for sale, all of this stuff has to meet strict standards.
Now, in regards, obviously recreational, this isn't for tonight, and it's not even on the table right now in the state, but have you been in state, I think you kind of touched on this, have you been in a state where you originally opened a medical dispensary, but then recreational became legal? I'm assuming is there a different license for that? So it's not like, you're here, so you couldn't just theoretically open it if you wanted. It would be a whole different process, just so people understand that.
Yes, 100%. And generally, the cities, towns, municipalities have total control.
So that would be another conversation to be had by us if that should ever come down the pipe. So it's not like we're okaying everything today.
Yeah.
This is it's two kind of separate
100%.
conversations.
Separate license.
Okay.
You have to apply.
I just want people to understand that
So
are
in
watching.
every state, it's a separate license. You'd have to apply for the state first, and then each town decides, or city.
Just so people understand it. It's not the same thing, and it would be a different conversation to be had at a different day.
Correct.
Thank you.
For the people that for the people that do not recognize that difference between the recreational and the medical.
I just told them. I'm just kidding.
How do you, when this comes to being, if we build a relationship and, we have informative meetings and parents, like what if a parent comes to you and says, well, what if somebody, comes out of your store, takes a pill, and we don't want them driving home if they're under the influence? How do you go about and address that?
Sure. So there's no on-site consumption. They're not taking a pill in our store.
Right.
Like Vince mentioned, we have on-site security. There's no loitering. There's no. So much like a pharmacy.
I mean, you can't take a Benadryl and really drive. It's not much
Right.
different in my
We,
opinion.
we
you know?
can't follow them home.
Right,
At least I can't.
We can't
Take a
make
Benadryl
sure
and
that
drive.
when they drive out of our parking lot.
right.
I learned that the other day.
You're right. But again, from the wine and spirits industry, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to pop a bottle and drink it, in the store, But we make sure that our store, our parking lot, our block, right? There's no consumption, loitering, lingering, and we like Vince said, we vet our patients.
From a compliance standpoint, we make it a point that when you enter the facility, all of this is explained. If the state states, this is the way the program is supposed to be implemented, we let every patient that comes in know that these are the rules. And any deviation or variation from that could result in you being, reported back to the Department of Health, could result in you being removed from the program.
I was going to say, can somebody's card be revoked for?
And for most of these, all these patients, I believe that the last thing they want is their card revoked. So, I mean, they're going to adhere as close to as possible, even if there is a desire to potentially do something. And we've had situations where we've had to basically tell individuals, give me card, you need to take it off property, you need to go home, wherever you're going with it. And I mean, most people are compliant. They're patients. They're truly patients. It's not, we haven't had those issues.
I just add one thing. Nobody is more vigilant than us, because if there is any infraction, it puts our license at jeopardy. So. we're
Mayor?
very vigilant.
Yes.
Could I just ask if it would be all right, does Chief Cook have any questions? Since he's not sitting up here, but,
Yeah.
he may have some security concerns or anything, I'd like to.
Chief,
I didn't
wait,
mean to back-
yeah,
Way to put him on the
Come on
spot.
up.
to the microphone, just so TV can hear. Yeah, just so you guys know, we want everything on a mic, because when it's broadcast on TV, if it's not through the mic, they only hear muffled, and I think it's really important. I want to make sure everybody hears what's going on.
All right, well, I apologize for being late.
So that's why I'm super annoying about the microphone. I'm sorry.
I missed the earlier meeting because I had another meeting scheduled, and then I was late for this one due to traffic, so I apologize. So some of the stuff you may have discussed, but obviously I didn't hear it, so it may be redundant. Let me just pull up my questions for you. Got a list. So I'm just trying to understand, I don't understand everything about this yet. The product that you have that's being processed, what is the difference in the effect it has on somebody from something someone could just buy on the street? Is there a difference? I know it's clean.
Yeah, so I mean, the first difference is that it's third-party tested by a state-accredited testing lab, right? And they test for parts per billion, right? So if there's any contamination, like if you went to a store and had, what's the food I'm thinking of where they light it on fire?
Crumble line?
Whatever. One of those dishes that they caramelize in front of you.
Right.
That would have 40
Oh, yeah.
times more, residue, right? So it's clean, it's purity. That's the first part. Second part, we cultivate it, we manufacture it. It's touched by only us.
Right.
Use only organic pesticide. I mean, we don't spray it. We don't use chemicals.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I'm worried
Shot-
about the effect it actually has on someone as far as the high they would get.
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
it's so, and then again, it's packaged, right, child-proof, but it's the same plant, I think, but it's a lot cleaner and more pure, and with warning labels and child-proof packaging, but it is cannabis. I mean,
But
Right.
there are varying degrees
Yeah,
within medicine.
absolutely.
In terms of how many milligrams, there are low dose to high dose, depending on the condition.
Right.
Depending on the specific product that you were getting, it may be very minimal, if at all, psychoactive effect versus
Correct.
on the higher end of the spectrum, depending on the seriousness of your condition, it may be very potent. And there are some that have no psychoactive properties whatsoever.
and that's a good point, actually, dosing, right? When you're buying something on the street, you have no idea how potent it is. Everything is dosed, scientifically, right? So, and then the wellness guide will recommend the dose.
And just in what we were talking about earlier, was the fact that if an individual purchases their product today and within 2 or 3 days or a week, all of a sudden it's back again and they just went through everything that they had. I mean, that's another issue again that revolves around the whole issue of diversion. And that's a whole different conversation that gets started with regards.
Right.
Chief, he's the head of their security, by the way. I know you want
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so
You guys can talk shop later on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You were here. I picked him out as being a security, by what he was hitting,
Well, but he's
so.
not just security, he's the head of the Maryland Fraternal Order of Police, and, I think one of Vince's agenda items was to meet you, and, the majority of our security is, in every state, is local
Right.
retired police from that neighborhood or city.
Right.
Hey, we're not getting rid of him. Stop.
Not be pushing me out that easy. So the guards that you have are armed guards, retired officers who they're not armed guards.
And understand, it depends.
I mean, it potentially could be if it's a retired
Depending on
officer.
the nature of the program, depending on what is active, because we try to basically work with the community. We have certain communities that don't want armed security anywhere
Right.
within this, and we try to basically adhere to that, and then we take other precautions with regards to the level of cameras, how much security, instead of 1 guard, 2 guards, things of that nature. If the program warrants it, and this is something that ultimately, the community is comfortable with, there's not an issue with us basically doing that. But again, it's just trying to learn what some of the issues and concerns within the community may be. I believe because it is a medical program as far as it's concerned, and some of the other security precautions that basically go into this, that at the end of the day, again, these are patients coming in. It's not a rec program where just everybody can walk inside. So
Right.
we know who you are coming in and out of the facility.
Okay.
So I think there's a certain level, not of feeling comfortable that nothing could happen, but less likely that something
Right.
could happen as far as that.
You had mentioned, and it's one of my questions anyway, but later on, about people coming in a little more frequent, you pick up on, well, maybe they're, using a little bit too much, or they're taking it for other purposes. Do you have a shared information, like database, like if someone's going to Union, they're just shopping around and getting it from wherever they can?
No.
Because I see this with
That's a good
prescription issues all the time.
So with cannabis, so there's a seed to sale tracking mandate
Right.
that the state requires. So in New Jersey, it's metric, I believe the same as most of the states we operate in. So Vince's guys they can see, no matter what store you went to, where you went, what you bought, where your allocation is. And
So
if
that's a shared database, and like when someone comes to you, that's the first thing you check? When they
First thing
come
you
there?
check, yeah. First you check if you're a patient.
Right.
You'll walk in, this guy will pull up your medical card.
Yeah.
He'll type your name in or scan it, and then it'll say, you're a patient, your card's valid, you still have allocation for the month, what you've purchased, from where.
Okay. What if your systems went down? Does that mean you're closed for the day?
Absolutely.
They have.
Yeah.
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 No, because you can't check on
Yeah.
somebody. I have a concern, because and maybe they're legit, but we've had an increase of motor vehicle stops with young people who now, I have the card, here it is. Could be legit, obviously. People that we know from dealing with them in the past, and there hadn't been necessarily an issue they're saying they now have. My concern is, obviously, like you had even said, people are in this for making money as well. No offense to doctors, they're all great, but there are some, and I've experienced in my 30-year career of in it for the money, and well, what's your problem? All right, here's your card.
Sure.
Give me this, and, is there a way to control that? I mean, on your end, or?
But you have to understand, and I can actually talk from a law enforcement standpoint with some of my partners in some of the other jurisdictions, it's been, when we've had those issues arise and questions come up, first off, the database does normally provide an ability for law enforcement to basically reach out and say, is this individual legitimately on the list as an individual who's supposed to have the product? The other thing as well, there's nothing that prohibits anyone from contacting the facility where basically they say they purchased it, and what you have to understand, the product in and of itself has labels that basically outline where you purchased it, when you purchased it, so, there's a bunch of ways to go back and check on this to see whether or not this is legit, and that the individual who's in possession of it should have possession of it. And then from a legal standpoint, again, you're the patient, you basically get to purchase the product, you give your product to me, I get stocked with that product. Not only am I, as the individual who's in possession of it, ton of issues with regards to just law enforcement and the issue of having someone else's product. You, as a patient, potentially lose that license and the ability to
Right.
participate in the program because you gave it to someone else. And then the legal.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something that we see because everything is tracked and traced within the industry. If we see that all of a sudden we have a huge influx of what seem like questionable patients that all have the recommendation from the same doctor, that's something that we would report to the state.
Right,
Because
that's a problem I've seen in the past.
Right, exactly.
You know,
So, I
that's-
mean, it's not doing us any favors for, I mean, yes,
Right.
there would be more patients potentially coming into the facility, but if they're not true patients, and we think that there is a risk that they may be abusing the product and not really using it for medical
Which is why we have
purposes.
the
we would-
opioid
we-
abuse we have now. is
Sure,
because of-
we would report something like that.
Also, and I could be wrong, this is just what I've heard, we always hear things, it's not inexpensive, even if you have a card, like you said, they don't take insurance, it's not a cheap product, right?
Correct.
So it's,
And similar to the fill factories that you're talking about, the doctors who just can constantly write prescriptions and write prescriptions. I know, and at least I'm aware of it in Pennsylvania, I'm aware in Maryland, I know a couple of other jurisdictions throughout the country, as a result of what's going on with the opioid issue, have really kind of started putting tougher laws on the books to try and basically identify those individuals who are just cranking out prescription after prescription after prescription. And similar to these referrals, doctors and the ones who are actually allowed to do these referrals for patients, these are state requirements. So it's not a situation where they get the license and then they keep their own personal records and it's not reported anywhere. All of this data is basically kept and maintained by the state. And I believe that, to be honest with you, law enforcement has probably led the conversation in a lot of these jurisdictions with regards to reporting and just knowing who some of these are, identifying individuals and trying to put some tougher regulations on the books to try and help if it's needed. So this is a growing industry, so you have to remember a lot of this stuff is still going to be, evolving as time goes on.
Right, yes.
I'm actually a former municipal prosecutor, and I'm part of this entity, and so proud of you partnering with them. So I think it's very interesting.
microphone. I think you're going to say something important, it feels.
So I think
Everything's important.
It's very interesting for me to have learned about the industry coming from my particular background. And when I went and actually observed their dispensary and the locations, in addition to the security, I was extremely surprised to see the average patient age and the average caliber of the illness of these individuals. I think we can fairly say that individuals that want to use this product illicitly can get it cheaper and easier off the streets than going and getting a card. And, from a personal standpoint, my father has 4 types of stage 4 cancer. And unfortunately, he's had to retire to Texas, and that's not a state where medicinal cannabis is permitted, and I wish there would be a facility like this. From a perspective of a municipal prosecutor, I was extremely impressed with their facility and extremely surprised about the, I would say, patient data. I just wanted to share.
Thank you.
Chief, I just want to piggyback off your question real quick. So, do they walk out with a receipt or something? So he pulls them over, he's got a kid in the car or somebody in the car, and they say, well, here's my card, on. Is it identifiable and traceable or labeled to them at that point, like a prescription bill probably?
The card on top of their driver's license, if they're operating a vehicle, on top of the product in and of itself should actually be properly labeled, which has, who it was assigned to, where it came from, their doctor that referred them, even has all the what it is that's supposed to be contained within it. So if I have a bottle and the bottle says I'm supposed to have 20 pills, but you open it up and it's actually flour contained within the bottle, well, no, that's not what was sold to you.
So if the chief pulls somebody over and this is unidentifiable at that point, or not, we already know then he can do whatever he has to do at that point.
At that point, there's nothing that prohibits him from doing what he needs to do as far as state regulation and laws are concerned.
And all these patients are like you said, like anybody can have a prescribed medication now, but if it's not in a correct bottle, that's a violation. So they're explained that, hey, if you're carrying this is the way it needs to be, otherwise you're running the risk of.
Explained on the very front end, the first consultation, make sure that everyone knows what the rules are. In most of our locations, they're required to sign, saying that the rules have been explained to them as far as that's concerned, so we have something on file too.
You know, we've been first to market in a lot of states, and so it's so new. So the program will be enacted, and then police will start pulling people over and having these problems. And Vince and I will go to the state house or to the, you know, the chief of police
Right.
or the state troopers, and we sort of explain how it works and how it should work. And, so
Yeah,
we
there's
do a
going
lot.
to be a lot of hiccups, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But I mean, even the laws aren't really tightened on this whole thing yet, and it's kind of,
It's
And
still trying to-
And at the end of the day, that's again why we're here. Like, you know, we want to work in partnership. If there's ever any issue, there is a number or meeting, you can reach out to me directly. If it's something I can answer, I'll do my best. If not, we'll point you in the right direction and try to do what we can to ensure that you
And-
know what's going on.
and are we able to say the location where it's going to be, or that's, if I ask where exactly it's going to be, or is that not,
Yeah, well, they're proposing, yes.
we can
Yeah.
say that? Yes. Where is it we're looking to go exactly?
It's 905 Mountain Ave, right off of it's like the off-ramp on.
A restaurant.
So just past those driveways for Apple
I
Plaza?
go there, go there.
Yeah, the seafood.
Yes, okay.
And again, I think as they've been presenting it, it's, like we said, it's very similar, as I'm hearing it, to CVS or Walgreens, where you get a prescription. If my dentist prescribed me something, if I had a root canal, there are certain things they can prescribe me that I shouldn't take in the car on the way home because I shouldn't be impaired driving on it.
Correct.
As I'm hearing it, it's similar.
You're not allowed to drive under the influence.
Exactly. So I don't see, honestly, I'm understanding is it's a similar thing. It's similar to a drugstore. There are regulations, and obviously there are certain things. Again, you shouldn't go to a liquor store and purchase something and then drink it in the parking lot. So
I told the story earlier in our first meeting about my stepfather, who is the most square, kind of conservative guy. I love him. He's an oral surgeon in Maryland, and vehemently opposed, to what I was doing originally, 10 years ago. And about 3 years or 2 years ago, Maryland allowed for dentists and oral surgeons to be prescribers. And he started studying it, and he started coming into our store, like Megan mentioned, seeing all the caliber of people that were being treated and all the illnesses, and he started taking classes, and now, he hates writing prescriptions for pain pills and things like that, and dentists, a lot of people have prescriptions, for some sort of a downer before they go into. Right. He's writing, people scripts and recommending they have liquid tincture that we make. So, watching his turnaround was.
Yeah. I guess my only other concern would be totally different end of the spectrum is because you said you could have anywhere from 100 to 400 patients a day. There's like just two ways to get there, so obviously my traffic is going to increase that much more. Coming off 22 right there or traveling down Mountain Avenue, it's going to be a huge increase in traffic. And there is a school, I'm sure you're out of the school zone, I don't know what the school zone is, but there is one right down the road. It's, obviously, you must have looked into it
It's way out.
to know where it is. So that would be another concern I would have is the increase in the traffic.
Could we ask the state chief if there's a way, I don't even know on that lot and block there, can you get in from 22? Would it be possible? Are they connected or not? I don't.
No, not at all.
I can say, and Vince can speak to this, we operate in many metropolitan areas, cities, and suburban communities. That patient count is spread, throughout a 9-hour day.
Yeah, I imagine
It's
you'll have
4 or 5 people in the
everybody
store at a
at the door
time.
when you open up.
Yeah, at 4 or 5, maybe 10 at a time max. I've never really seen
Because
more.
your lot really isn't that big. I mean, obviously, they can use that other lot to
Right.
park and walk up, but
But we've just never, it's come up in a lot of meetings, and we've
Yep.
never seen, this crazy traffic backup because of our,
Is it appointment-based or walk-in based?
it's walk-in based.
And we found in most of the jurisdictions, even in our highest capacity, when individuals are coming and going, we're able to move traffic in and out relatively quickly, especially from the standpoint that not everyone that comes in requires an initial consult again after the first time. So most individuals kind of have an idea of what it is they want. They're coming in, they're purchasing what they want, and then they're getting out and down the street they go. So
Yeah.
That lag time primarily be as a result of that individual having a longer we're spending a little bit more time trying to look at what it is they want to try and take care of, and if people know, this is what I want, you know, in and out they go.
It's not connect, if you come off of 22 by Christmas Tree Shop, you can't come up to that lot's separate from
Yeah,
everything
you
else?
have to take Mountain Avenue to it, or you can come off.
No, I know, it's in front of it, but it's not connected at all? It's separate?
You're in the wrong lot.
That's
You
wrong.
can park in
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Echo Plaza.
Oh, that's what I meant, that's what I meant.
You can
Outback,
park
I
in
meant
Echo
Outback.
Plaza and walk up the stairs.
That's what I meant.
The stairs right there.
Yeah.
You walk up and it's right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Like
MBD
I
and
said,
all
my
that.
only
That's my
concern,
bad, I'm
you know
sorry.
where the location is, like,
Yeah.
that driveway is like, you got people coming off 22 at a pretty good clip, and then that driveway's right there, and we've never had a problem with the existing business, but it's not gonna be as busy as, I mean, the busier it is, now the odds are greater that I'm gonna have an issue with people trying to make a left out of there or something. I don't know if we can make it a right only, I don't know what the solution would be, but.
Yeah, I understand the concern. I an open invite to come to any of our stores. We've really never seen that kind of concentration.
Okay.
What I will say is that people that do come to get medicine in these dispensaries end up spending money in the city, right? They end up eating dinner, they end up shopping, getting ice cream, getting coffee. It really is a driver into most cities, especially when there's
Well,
only.
that would be good, because you got, just turn right into Echo Plaza and you can eat all you want.
And that's the statement.
Hopefully they do, but,
It's our objective, basically, so, I mean, if there are any issues or concerns that we can sit back that are within our ability to basically address as far as concerns, whatever we can to try and
Yep.
solve those concerns.
Okay.
And, it's an open door, you know, for any people to come through, take a look, see how the facility operates at any given point in time. We would love to extend an invitation to come see some of our other places in Philadelphia and take a look.
Business has a standard store manager, store, you know, full.
Yeah, the beauty about our company, maybe another difference between the one you mentioned, again, we have 3 stores in Philadelphia area. We're in Maryland. We have cultivation and processing, 2.5-hour drive from here. Everybody that works for us goes through a full, what we call seed to sale training. So they spend time in the cultivation facility, in the manufacturing facility, in the retail facility, no matter what job they're ending up in. So they understand the process, they understand, the medicine, how it's made. It's all really important, and most, new local operators can't offer that.
Can I,
We attempt to hire local security as well. So at the end of the day, the idea is that team that's at that location will not only become known by patients as well, as far as we have a relationship there at that level. But, we're hoping that it's an individual or individuals who live here or currently live within the community, and, they know Bob, they know Smith, and at the end of the day, those becomes a much more personal relationship as opposed to just a business transaction.
thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comment now.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
yeah, I mean, just one last.
Okay.
I'd be like Councilman Huber and throw one last one in. You had mentioned something about vetting your patients. What is your particular process, or just kind of like,
Yeah.
if you get a feel for something that's.
Yeah,
look a little further.
we've been doing it a long time, right? And so when we open a store, like I said, 90% of the employees will be local. We'll bring in an experienced manager with 1 or 2 years of experience, doing book to physical inventory, and also, again, it would be wrong to look at a patient and say, no, that guy's, up to no good. But there's a feel, and
Right.
and like they come
He
back to
understands
me.
what that is.
Your employees, though, you do a full background check on them, correct?
Every single employee is required that they have.
And most,
Kids got to drug tested.
and most states require also ambulance service kind of training as well. So, there's the training on what's going on, what the new regulations and rules may be, and there's also a component that's required in those jurisdictions with regards to security. So, the first one's just your initial, hey, this is the industry, and just kind of things to be aware of. But as the next year's training, just change up in some particular time. So, be it situational awareness or diversion tech, trying to be an observer for diversion, things of that nature. So we're constantly trying to keep everybody up on what the latest issue or trick of the trade may be going on with regards to that.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Would you guys mind maybe sitting at these tables so you're in front of a mic? So if the public comes up and asks a question, you can answer. There's a mic over there as well. At least a couple or whoever, just so. And if the public would like to come up now for public comment, just speak into this microphone. I don't even know if there is any public comment. Oh, come on, my plan was great. Nobody, okay, good. Just that way you don't have to share the mic.
It was on, it was off.
It's not that hard. Just speak into the mic, you know.
I have one question for the security guy.
Can you please just give your name and where you live?
Barricade 136 Pitt Road.
Thank you.
On a security level, somebody comes in with a fake ID, fake medical card. Does that now become a police issue, or you guys just kick them out?
That's a good question.
Was it?
Yeah, there you go.
So, what you have to understand is that, one, faking these IDs, I mean, while anything can be recreated, and, you know, driver's license and things of that nature can be done, the key thing for us is that we're really trying to keep an eye out on what the state mandates, making sure that our individuals are fully aware of what it looks like, how it's supposed to feel. Same thing with driver's license. If by some chance an individual is identified as having something, there's a couple of notifications that are mandated to be made. One is to the Department of Health, which requires them, and they have an enforcement unit that basically is responsible for looking into some of these issues. And that's a bigger problem that you wind up having, because an individual who didn't make notification that his or her card was stolen, and it now is being utilized by someone else, I mean, that individual, again, is potentially going to be looking at having some additional concerns and issues as well, and could potentially lose their ability to be in the program. So they treat these things like gold. I mean, the reality of the matter is the last thing most of these patients who want this product want to have is that card being taken from them or them being booted. And most of the time when you're booted from the program, you're done. You're not
Yeah.
ability to come back.
And I think Vince's point, you can't fake the card because, no.
Yeah,
But-
fake Emerson.
Yeah, I understand, you could fake it, but once you type it into a database, unless it's that person.
Going forward, now is that a police problem?
Yes.
You just kick them out and they're done.
Well, what happens is the Department of Health normally is the one who institutes that. They'll basically decide whether or not there is any other further additional issues with regards to whether or not you as the individual's card was taken, should be removed from the program. The individual, if we're able to identify who that individual truly is, could potentially wind up becoming a law enforcement issue. I believe more than likely it wouldn't be local, it would probably be a state problem.
And just to put a fine point on it, our standard protocol is if that ever happened, we immediately report it to the Department of Health.
Where's Kristen? Do you ask for 2 IDs?
Sorry?
In other words, I come in with a card, and I have a card that says Chris Webber on it. I'm a lot better looking,
It's always you.
first of all. No, but, and then now I give you the card. Do you ask for another photo ID?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's 2 forms of ID. It's not just the card in and of itself. It actually does require that basically another government ID of some sort is basically utilized. And you have to remember, when the card was issued through the database, that database also contains some additional information that may not be exactly on the card in and of itself.
I'm sorry, and I must have missed it, and if I did, I apologize. So when a patient goes to the doctor and doctor gets the card, where do they physically get the card from?
That actually comes from,
The Department of Health mails them the card.
Oh, okay, all right.
yeah, I mean, again, I think earlier, the issue with the doctor, the first step in this process is it is a state mandated process. It's
Right.
required to actually be entered into a system.
okay.
That stuff
That
is
makes
actually, and the doctors are required for the most part to retain all those records as well, because there's.
So the issue with trying to fake one of these cards is you can't just make a fake card and put a fake number on it. It wouldn't come up in the system when you tried to check in. So you would have to take somebody else's pre-existing ID and look exactly like them.
That makes sense.
We're sorry.
Hi, I'm Debbie Neer, 44 Norwood Road. I have a couple of questions. Some are quick and some may not be quick. What's the location? You said it's 905 Manhattan Avenue? Is that where Marino's is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
So Marino's is going out?
Yes.
he's just leasing it, he's month to month, right?
Okay. That was question one.
We didn't do that.
No, no. So what I understand about, I don't know if this is your product, and this is my question, so there are really 2 main components. There's THC and CBD, and we all know CBD, THC is the psychotropic part. So do your products contain that as well?
Yeah, so there are about 75 what are called cannabinoids that our products contain. So CBN, THCV, many different types. All have different levels, from high to zero psychotropic or psychoactive properties. And our medicines contain the full spectrum, from none to yes, to 100%.
And it really depends on the condition as to whether or not you would have something that would have THC in it. Like, for instance, if you're going through chemotherapy and battling nausea and have no appetite, THC is very good for combating the nausea and bringing back your appetite. So.
And to really, for my own sake, dumb a scientific process down, the THC in its raw form is an acid base, so it's THC-A. So we extract that, and that's not psychoactive. When it's heated, it's called decarboxylation. That's why, historically, people make brownies or smoke pot. Once it's heated, that activates the THC. So we're able to extract THC that's non-psychoactive, right? THC-A, and that's incredibly medicinal.
And is that what all medical dispensaries do? They have
The
full
Yeah.
spectrum?
Well, I think
so
we were
in-
the first. Oh, go ahead.
In New Jersey, there's only 2 of the existing licensees that actually have extraction facilities. It's very complicated, science-based stuff, and we think that we're pretty good at doing it.
We were also, if you did just a quick Google search, we were the first to bring CBD to a number of markets. But generally now, most dispensaries have CBD products.
This is a question. So what is Springfield getting out of this? Apart from it being just another business?
Those conversations haven't been,
We don't know.
it hasn't gotten that far in the
We
process.
haven't gotten that far into it.
Yeah.
This was more of an information system for all of us to.
Just so we can all learn more about.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the public? Okay. In closing, I just wanted to say that the reason why we brought everyone here tonight and this afternoon, and I thank you guys for being here. I heard this afternoon was very informational. It's probably similar to this evening, is that we learned that this company had a proposed location in our township in the highway commercial zone, which is right near Route 22. And as we understood the process, and we learned more tonight, because I don't think anybody had a good understanding of the process of how everything worked. We wanted to learn more, all of us, and we wanted to give the opportunity for the residents to learn more. It's a time-sensitive process for any of these businesses, and we wanted to give them a chance to present exactly how this works and exactly how their company works. And again, we wanted to do our due diligence to learn more. We don't like to make decisions without having information, and we wanted to provide residents multiple opportunities today to come out and ask their questions. And I hope that those of you out there who had questions were able to have some of them answered, even if you weren't here today and you're watching. And we will post this video. We'll post this video, and I took some notes with some timestamps as to when certain things were covered, so we'll share that so that you can learn about certain aspects of it. And that's why we held this tonight. There weren't any decisions made before this, obviously, because we didn't have enough information, and there are no decisions. There's nothing being made tonight. We're not taking any action tonight, I should say. There's no action being taken tonight, and we just thank you guys for being here. Thank the residents who came out this afternoon and this evening, and I guess that's it.
But do we have to, I'm just asking, Mayor, do we have to do this on Tuesday? Decide what we're going to do, am I correct? So they have to know by the 22nd of August.
Well, before then, we would have to know, just because the application is due on the 22nd. So obviously, if
Our next meeting is Tuesday.
correct.
So Tuesday night, we would have to,
Yes, Tuesday night, there would be an action item for consideration by this committee as to whether the committee would be granting consent to the siting of this facility. Not approving anything, or it's not an approval of any kind, it's a consent, so that they would be permitted to go to the state and complete their application and go to the state with at least this portion of it taken care of.
I think we have one more public comment. Oh, okay, we gotta come up. You know the rules, sir. It's not your first rodeo.
I'm not so sure. You talked out of turn about 10 minutes ago. Michael Furchy, 139 Hillside Avenue. The specific location is required on your application?
Yes.
Because I just texted somebody, who was involved with the last 6 that were approved, and it's preferred, but not required.
If you want to win the application, you have to have the specific property locked up. Yes, the answer is we need the specific location.
But it's not required by the state. You guys have one that's required.
It's strongly preferred by the state.
But I think also, Michael, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're crossing two things there.
Yeah.
It's not, they just need to know that the town doesn't object to it.
Yeah,
Exception.
right.
Right,
That's it. It's
that's
just
what they-
that,
Not a sponsor for,
no.
Right.
No.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Any other questions up here?
Nope. Yeah, thank you very much.
Covered it all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have
Vote for adjournment?
Motion.
vote for adjournment?
Second. Now, for the stay.
Aye.